Okay, so we'll start with this first topic, vectors. And in vectors, so mostly the quantities in physics, all the physical quantities, they can have different attributes. And you all know that some of the physical quantities are defined as scalars, some of them are defined as vectors, and later on in the course we will see there could be more attributes which represent these quantities or characterize these quantities. So vectors are an important entity in that. So let's start from there. So what we'll do is we'll start with the basic definition which you are all aware, and that is vectors have magnitude as well as direction. So what do we mean by that? So let's just say vectors, and now these have two attributes. One is magnitude and another is direction. Okay. So now when we say magnitude, in general we know what it means. So for example, if we are talking about distance between two places, then the magnitude in general would represent something in terms of kilometers or meters or centimeters or whatever. What is direction? Now again, going with our perception, we define direction with respect to certain reference. Right? For example, we say that Bombay is west of Kanpur, Calcutta is east of Kanpur. Right? So we need to have some kind of reference. And so in general, what we can do now is, in terms of representation, what we can do is, we can say that to represent any vector, now the quantity could be anything, it could be length, it could be mass, it could be force, it could be velocity. Of course, we'll have to see later on if these quantities actually can be described as vector quantities. But let us say if I have a quantity which is a vector quantity, then to represent it on a blackboard or a piece of paper, what we will do is we will follow convention that length of a line, right, is representing the magnitude of that vector quantity. So we can draw a longer or shorter line, and that basically represents the magnitude carried in that physical quantity. And we will set some direction reference. So for example, to begin with, what we can do is we can start with our natural reference directions, north, south, let us say east, west, and then we have up and down. Right? So these are my 6 directions in which we generally refer things. And now in this picture, I can state that, let's say A is a vector. So just to distinguish vector quantities from scalar quantities, what we do is we put a bar or an arrow on top of the symbol. So let's say A is a vector which is here. Then length of this line, length of this arrow represents the magnitude of the vector. So magnitude of A is represented, and we can represent it like this. So this represents the length of the vector, and similarly direction of A. So now in this case, let's say direction of A could be northeast upwards or northeast downwards, or we can represent like this. Symbolically, we can represent the direction of A as vector A divided by its scalar magnitude, right? And this is then called the unit vector A. Unit vector A. And what this means is, unit vector A basically has, so a unit vector will always have magnitude 1 independent of which physical quantity it is representing, right? And its direction is the direction of the original vector A. So that's our general definition of vector quantities. Now this is also exactly the mathematical definition of vectors. That's how we define vectors, right? However, this is difference or there is an additional attribute which we must assign or which all physical quantities will have, right? Which distinguishes a physical vector from a mathematical vector quantity, and that is dimension, right? We cannot define a physical quantity without attributing a dimension or a unit to it, and I am using dimension in a very loose sense, right? So I can use them interchangeably, but you all have done dimension analysis, you have learned about different units, so you can make the distinction wherever necessary. So now we also have to attribute. So basically, what I do is I write this as a physical vector quantity. So now instead of just calling an arbitrary vector, I am calling it a physical vector. Right? So all the vectors which will represent certain physical entities, physical vector will have magnitude, it should have a direction, and it will also have a dimension. Right? For example, if I am representing something in terms of length or distance, then the dimensions are of length. Could be meters, could be centimeters, could be kilometers, could be whatever. If suppose I am representing a vector which describes force, then the dimension or the units of that vector will be newtons or kg per second square. So in that sense, dimension is a very important part in describing, well, any physical quantity, so as well as the vector quantity, right? Okay. Right. So now what we can do is, now with this we can move on, and now we will simply discuss a few properties of these vectors. So in general, for mathematical manipulation, most of these vectors can be manipulated using usual algebraic rules. Okay. So let's start one by one. So the first one is addition. We can add two vector quantities. So what that basically means is a vector A can be added to a vector B, and this will give me a vector C. Addition of two vectors will always give you a vector quantity C. Now again, since these are not just mathematical entities, we have a physical attribute assigned to it. What that means is dimension of vector A has to be same as dimension of vector B, and the resulting vector C will also have the same dimension. So again, just to give an example, length vector can only be added to a length vector, and that will again give me a length vector. We cannot add a length vector to a force vector and then expect something to come out of it, right? And that's how we can see the importance of attributing the dimension to the physical vectors. Okay. Now beyond this, once we have taken this as an implicit rule, then the algebraic manipulations are more or less same as for the usual numbers. So vector addition is defined like this. Vector addition will have also encompass the same algebraic properties. So it will be commutative. Right? What that means is it does not matter in which order we add these two vectors, the resultant is going to be the same vector. This is associative, just like normal addition. Right? So that means again, if you have more than two vectors, you can add them in any given fashion, and the end result would be the same. And the vector addition is also distributive over scalar multiplication. Okay. So again, now this includes two things. One is scalar multiplication. What that means is we can multiply any scalar quantity into a vector quantity. So scalar quantity is basically just a magnitude, can be multiplied to any vector quantity, and all that does is changes the magnitude of the vector, right? So that means the new vector b is basically the magnitude of new vector b is a times the magnitude of original vector a. Right? So this is a scalar multiplication, and vector addition is distributive over scalar multiplication, right? So that means if I multiply a scalar to a plus b, then it's same as a multiplied, a scalar multiplied to vector a, a scalar multiplied to vector b, and then taking the sum of these two. So that's a distributive property over scalar multiplication. Okay. Just like multiplication, we can also just like addition, we can also define rules for vector multiplication. So two vectors, just like two numbers, can also be multiplied together. We can find their product. Now in this, so unlike addition, which more or less follows, rather than the constraints of dimensionality, which more or less follows the rules of normal algebraic sum, multiplication is a bit different. And now what we can have is, we can have two ways we can multiply two vectors. One is called scalar product, or this is also termed as dot product, and second is vector product, or you already done this before, cross product, right? So multiplication can be achieved in two different ways, scalar product and vector product. Let us quickly go over how do we define this and what information this can provide us. So let's start with scalar product. Scalar product, as the name suggests, basically means that multiplication of two vectors gives me a scalar quantity, right? So A into B gives you a scalar quantity, and to identify it uniquely, the way we represent the multiplication is A dot B. So that would be the dot product of the scalar product. A dot B gives you a scalar quantity C. Okay? So that means in doing the multiplication, we are the final entity C will have information regarding the magnitude of A and B. However, it will lose all information regarding the direction of A and B. That's why the result is a scalar. How to calculate C, or how to get the value of magnitude of C? A dot B is basically equal to magnitude of A into magnitude of B. So that's just normal algebraic product multiplied by cosine of angle theta, right? And now we have to define what is this angle theta. So let us say this is my vector A, and related to this, because then that fixes my direction, related to this I have this vector B. So the angle between vector A and vector B is the angle theta, and if I take a dot product between A and B, I'll get the result as magnitude of A, magnitude of B, cosine of theta, where theta is the angle between these two, right? We can also see what is this B cos theta. So if you take a projection of B in the direction of vector A, then this number or this value is basically B cos theta. So A dot B also basically means product of magnitude of A with the projection of magnitude of B in the direction of vector A. So that's the scalar product. Now, once we have a definition of how to calculate the scalar product, we can write down few important identities. One of them is, what if I take a dot product of vector A with vector A, right? So A dot A. Now what it will be? It will be magnitude of A multiplied by magnitude of A, right? And cosine of theta. What is the theta? Theta between same vector is 0. So cosine of theta is simply 1, or I can write this as a scalar quantity A square. Okay? So A dot A will be A square. Similarly, also, now let's say it's given that a dot product of two vectors A dot B is 0. Right? What does this mean? Or with this information, what can we say about vectors A and vectors B? Okay? So what we can say is, if this is 0, that means, looking at this expression, either this has to be 0, so either magnitude of A is 0, or magnitude of B is 0, or it's possible that I have two finite vectors with magnitude and direction, and still the dot product is 0, because this number cos that can be independently 0, right? And when this will be 0, if vector A is perpendicular to vector B, then also cross product will be 0, which basically means that theta AB is 90 degrees. Okay? So this is an important property of dot product between two vectors. Now similar analysis we can do for the cross product, and let's have a look at it. So now what I have is cross product, and cross product we represent, or I'll write it as vector product, because that carries slightly more information, that represented like this, A cross B gives you, so the product of A and B now gives me a vector C. So we can have the same vectors A and B, and now if we multiply them in a slightly different way, which is termed as a cross product, we get a quantity which is a vector quantity C. What is the value of C? So magnitude of C, that is magnitude of A cross B, can again be written as A B, and now sine theta, sine of theta, where theta is the angle between vector A and vector B. Again, following the same analysis that we did for the dot product, we can look at this, since we are taking theta in reference to A, we can look at this number, or this quantity, B sine theta, and what is this quantity? This is projection of, magnitude of projection of vector B in a direction perpendicular to vector A. So it's a perpendicular projection. In dot product, we can call B cos theta as the parallel projection. This is the perpendicular projection. So that is the magnitude. And now what is the direction of C? Direction of C, or direction of A cross B, is perpendicular to vector A and vector B. Okay. So this is the direction of the resulting vector C. This is called the cross product, and of course later on we will see various uses of this cross product.